we going, everybody? Well, I'm going to be grafting today, and we're doing the eggplant onto this devil plant or devil fig plant so that we can have it growing year after year after year, like many of you already got it. And I'm jealous because I haven't done one for a long time, or I haven't had one for a long time. So I'm preparing this one here as the rootstock. This is the devil fig or devil plant that I'm going to graft onto so that, you know, over winter, protect it. I'm going to put it in a little hothouse so it doesn't freeze over, because at the end of the day, when it gets frosty at night here in winter time, not many things live, and especially the eggplant. So this is what you need. You need a rootstock like this, and we're preparing some of these for you guys. So for anybody who's going to want one, it's only for pickup only. So unfortunately for those who are interstate, knock on your neighbour's door if you've got an Italian Greek friend or any gardener, in fact, that loves their gardening and love their eggplants. More than likely they'll have one of these. Otherwise, stay tuned for that one. Now, what I've just done here is taken all the leaves off, because we don't need the leaves. We want the energy to go straight to the top of the plant, and on top of the plant's going to be these little beauties. Well, in fact, only one of them, but we may do two because we've got two stalks coming up here. Now, these are eggplant bonicas, seedlings, and you don't have to take them out of the punnets. Why I say that is because we're going to cut these off halfway, and we're going to leave the rest of it in the ground, and that way it can sucker up again and still continue growing. So you're actually not destroying the plant, but you're just giving it a light prune to graft and keeping the bottom half to get more fruit later on. Now, I've been asked, isn't this a little bit skinny in the diameter there? No, it's actually okay. It's quite firm, it's quite rigid, it's hardened off. It's not a soft sapling leaf or stem where as soon as I cut it, it's going to fall apart or fray in my hands. This is a lot smaller in diameter compared to this eggplant here, the diameter. This one down here is actually good. We can graft onto that quite easily, and the aim here is to actually line up the cambium layer. Now, the cambium layer sits just below the skin on the outside, the bark. I'm going to cut this off to show you what I mean. Where we cut it, well, it's really up to you at the end of the day. So let's go through some stages here. We've got one stalk there, one stalk there. We're going to cut this just below this little node here, or bud here on that side there, and we're going to graft onto there. Now, what we're looking at here, and I'm going to need my glasses to show you, we're going to look at this little piece here. Just underneath the outside layer, this has got a lot of little prickles on this thing, so I'm going to be careful if it peels off. Just under there, that's where the cambium layer is. See, I've just peeled that little bit of the skin off, or the bark on the outside, which is soft bark, softwood. That's where the sap flows. So that is where the pipeline is. That's where all the energy is from the plant. So when it's feeding itself, it runs through there. There's a little bit of moisture in the middle, but that's really just the structural integrity. That's last year's and the years before, for argument's sake, if it was a big plant. That's the growth. So in the middle is not what you're lining up, but rather on the outside, just on the inside of that, the outer skin there. So we've got to do the same thing with the little one to line it up. And because they're a different diameter, we can't insert it down the middle. But I'm going to demonstrate that as we go along. So I'm going to remove the top half as well on this one here. And I'm going to go just below the top like that. Beautifully done. So we've got our bases ready. So this is our rootstock. We're going to put two grafts onto there. So I do this first because this has still got roots on it, and it's got sap actually flowing, actively flowing. So it can sit here for a little bit without too much concern. And always do it, not in the heat of the day, do it late afternoon or early morning and away from direct sunlight. Now the next stage is a split. And we're going to split it down the middle here like that. Just carefully, and you can see how I'm doing a rocking motion there. I'm not forcing it down, I'm allowing it to just open, push and cut through on its own. Now we've opened that up, just press it back close again. We'll prepare the other one. No, we'll actually do this one first. Now, because I said the diameter is completely smaller than that one there, I've got a bigger eggplant, and allow me to get that. This is more advanced. You can see it's been growing in a square pot on its own. It's very woody at the base, and again, we're not going to cut it all the way down here. We're going to cut it just, yeah, there we are. So I've got two buds there that can swell out and burst and keep growing for me. And now we're going to prepare this one. So we remove all these extra leaves. We don't need them because it'll just take too much energy and moisture out of the stalk and cause it to dehydrate. Now I think it might have a flower coming on here. See that little flower there? Normally I take them off. I'm going to leave it on. Bugger it. So what we're doing here is basically a V-shape wedge. And what we're doing with this here, cutting it into a flathead screwdriver. That's the easiest way as I can explain it. So quality grafting knives, if you like, or budding knives, or even Stanley knives. I've seen people using kitchen knives to do it. Now we've got to cut a flathead screwdriver, so I'm going to take this butt off and slice away like that on one side, and try and do the other side the same. And it's not quite right, see that? Not quite right, so... Okay, this is what we don't want to be doing, folks. Destroying the sample. 1, 2, got to cut that bit off there. And that should be okay. Normally I don't like slicing it too many times, but we can get away with it. Come on, folks. There we are. Avoid touching it, because if you touch it, you're going to contaminate it. Now when you insert, you've got to line the one side up on here. Just see on that side there? So we're just pushing it. So what we're trying to do here is align the cambium layers. Now because this is a lot thinner in the skin on the outside, it's going to sit just slightly in from the edge so they line up. Let me take these pricks off so I can press it firmly without hurting myself. I might just cut them off. Like that there. That's it. Now let's have a quick look. Give me a second to have a look. We want to avoid any air pockets. So, and I see that it's got a little bit of a curve on it. My eyes are gone, folks. There we are. That's fine. So as we squeeze it, it should be airtight like that there. Now the best way to tie these up is with buddy tape. This stuff here stretches. As you pull it, it stretches out. It'll stretch about 20 or 30 centimeters. Self-adhesive, real simple. So we start from one side and we start wrapping around. And as you wrap around, make sure you don't dislodge the sign wood, which is the graft on top. Keep it nice and steady. The buddy tape is very delicate, so it can actually tear if you pull it too fast or too hard, and if it's cold in temperature as well. That's in line. There's a lot of sap flowing through there. It's not as bad as doing fruit trees, because fruit trees are a lot harder in wood, and they need to be lined up really good, or perfectly as good as possible on the cambium layers. Otherwise the sap won't flow from the rootstock into this plant, and that's what we want to do here. See, that's what I mean by cutting. And it's actually cooled down a bit now, so this stuff is not as warm and pliable as it was earlier on in the warmer weather. It doesn't matter, because see how it just sticks on? You don't have to tie it up. You can cut little bits like that and just wrap it around to seal it. And if you've got, I brought these along just thinking maybe these will work. These are butterfly clips or orchid clips, and they're actually quite firm. They do hold on quite firmly, folks, if you can see that there. You can use that or even a clothes peg to sit it on the outside, and that just secures it all that little bit more. Let's do the bottom one before we put it away. So first we split it open again. Just rock and roll carefully like this, because it's very soft and delicate, and you can easily slice it right open or splice it to the point where it just falls apart. There we are. Now we cut our little bits off, trim the leaves like that. We don't need all these leaves, just leave the one, or even just cut it in half like that. And then let's see if we can create a little flathead screwdriver wedge with this one as well. That was a little bit. That's That's it. One side. It is delicate. Okay, that's come apart. We're just going to have to, see that's a little bit short there now. It's just falling apart on me, so I'm going to have to make it a little bit longer because we need a large area there of coverage so that the sap flow, there's a large contact point. That's not enough there for me. So I'm just going to take it back a little bit. Like that. You know, I've got to hand it to those who do the grafting day and night for commercial purposes. It's a bit, how you going, mate? Anyway, I'm going to give it a go, see what happens. Because this is soft and succulent, like, it should grab quite quickly. Wedged in like that. Oop, just lining it up to the side. Now, if you remember the show with Andreas in Thomastown, and I asked him how does he insert it, to the side or in the middle, and he goes, doesn't matter because it's all soft, there's sap flowing everywhere. He just shoves it anywhere and it always takes. Well, that's a good point to keep because this is a lot smaller, and hopefully, and I forgot to cut the pricks on this, folks, and it just pricked the hell out of me. That's what they call it, the devil plant. Okay, let's try again. That's wedged in, and we'll put a butterfly clip on that as well. Yep, that's holding it. There you are. And you know what? I'm going to knock off this flower because I do not need fruit on that little stem there. I need it to grow. So now this has to be kept away from a lot of heat. You don't want it in direct sunlight, especially on hot days. It's not bad to have it in sunlight. You want it in sun, but if it gets over 25 degrees, it'll dehydrate the little graft on top. Sometimes you can put a bag on it. Some people have done bags over the top, so a clear plastic bag with a few holes at the top for airflow as a mini hothouse. But what I'm going to do is sit it inside here, just in between these wonderful cucumbers and capsicum plants, which in fact, have a look at these beauties. Have a look at that, already producing. Unheard of in Lethbridge, folks. Normally, these things are normally still growing this time of the year, not producing, and that's a second-year-old plant. So that's what we're going to do with all our plants, try and keep them growing second years and third years. And that's the idea with the eggplant, because our summers are too short, not warm enough, long enough. So we graft them on, and they start producing early in the season. We don't have to wait till February and March. Well, not this year, but next year, that's for sure. We'll be picking early eggplants, folks. So grafted eggplant on a rootstock, my first batch of many more to go. From me, Vasily Maresi, check out our website, vasilisgarden.com.